Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. It is a lovely Friday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. We are currently in a live stream, but this is being recorded and will be released later. And you can join in on the fun on Fridays, as we like to make that a nice consistent endeavor. Anyways, I'm just going to jump right into this analysis, and we can start off right in over here with Bitcoin on the daily for CME, closing the weekly, by the way, later today as well. And in this case, it is still doing the dance of death. Really not much to update in terms of what the actual range is for Bitcoin. Indicators right now not giving a whole hell of a lot, to be quite frank with you, but there's a very clear and obvious area that if Bitcoin were to be met, this would be a lot more. This would actually be very good for the BULAs. Any sort of a trade back above yesterday's high, which was 30,515 on CME, that is on spot price action. That number would be 30,418, depending upon your exchange. That was Bybit, by the way. Any sort of a tick above there, that would confirm this as a local low. Bitcoin very likely travels back up to the top side of the range, north of 31,000 bucks, putting it yet again in a position of power and likely to continue on with this rally. Until that does indeed happen, the sideways is the name of the game, probably most likely, and downside displeasure is still very much relevant. In this case, looking at indicators right here, not really getting too much from it. Yes, we called out the bearish divergence that was coming off these three highs over here. Yes, we did see a little bit of volatility expansion. Yes, we did see the jewel continue with that downside signal, but we're not really seeing anything major after that. So in this case, I want to be looking at actually other corollary markets to be getting some sort of a bias as to what direction we might be seeing. And in this case, I'm actually going to go over here to Coinbase on NASDAQ and see what Coinbase is doing. And Coinbase, after having a pretty phenomenal run alongside pretty much all other major techs in the US, everything else on NASDAQ, does seem to be coming into its first major pullback here. It is coming into multi-month, or is this multi-year? Actually, this is multi-year, going back to about 2022 May resistance. I'll actually just mark it off right here. And I do believe that that we're going to see, probably a little bit of a more prolonged pullback from this region. Long term, yes, I do think that the lows are in. I really like this sort of a bottom right here. This is one that my mentor always used to call out to me. These three sort of spike lows, which I'll mark off. So there's your spike right there. There's a spike right there. There's a spike right there. Also an inverted head and shoulders, so it can come in many different forms to what he kind of always taught me. But in this case, this would kind of match up with that. And we do see that Bitcoin is pretty much at the neckline Coinbase is at the neckline right now. But once you get to that neckline, likely to pull back first. And in this case, a pullback, not the same thing as a MAC reversal or anything like that, but ultimately, probably doesn't bode too well for Bitcoin in the near term. On top of that, we do see that volatility represented by the HBDRV indicator here, which Karatik is still working on, and I think he's actually been getting pretty close now, has hit a relative extreme. We did see that get up all the way to 90, very close to 100 percentile actually, which all volatility extremes in the past few years have correlated with major highs and major lows. We can talk about this first one over here, May 2022, humongous downside move. This one over here on a nice upside move on that, actually the same area that Bitcoin or Coinbase is currently at right now. Then yet again on this high right here, and perhaps this high right here as well. We do see that daily jewel is also going to be showing a little bit of downside current momentum. When I see a signal like this, I do look at this as likely to get picked up later. It is likely a corrective signal. This is a very strong momentum to the upside overall. It's just short term probably does pull back into that. And daily RSI, little bit of bearish divergence come off that last high right there. Not again, when I see something like that, it's not like a death sense, but could come back down somewhere closer to 90 bucks, maybe upper 80s before setting in that next proverbial high or low. Looking at correlation between Coinbase and Bitcoin, we can see on the weekly they are relatively strong, and all of these short-term I wouldn't even say decorrelations, but these sort of turns in correlation do get picked up relatively fast. And again, if you were to draw a regression through here, it would be highly correlated above spot 80. If we go down to the daily, a little bit less, but I do think that the weekly is the one to be going with in this particular instance, just because the weekly is going to be getting the larger trend. Daily still, pretty much almost never gets a negative correlation. And when it does, same thing, quickly reverts back. And right now we are seeing them slightly decorrelate, or it's not that they're decorrelate, it's just a zero correlation is no correlation, right? But I'd imagine this one probably trades sideways and down alongside Bitcoin, and perhaps that could be given a bit of a bias towards, again, a short-term downside move, a relative short-term downside move. But that all hinges upon one of the major things for myself, which is, again, a break of the current range lows. A break of the current range lows is the same thing as it has been for many, many weeks now, which is 29,500 or 29,006 on spot, on CME right here. Until we start to see closures below there, well, I'm not like super concerned for that next move down, probably into the mid to low $28,000 territory. 4-hour time frame, by the way, on CME does have some regular bullish divergence come off that last low, so there's a bit of hopium, I suppose. But again, it's not until I see a move back above yesterday's high where I say, hey, this is actually looking quite good for the BULAs, and very unlikely we do see any sort of continuation lower. Anyways, if there is continuation lower, I want to go back to the major point from yesterday's video, in the sense that I do believe that it very likely be a major opportunity. So what we were using to kind of judge that, well, we were looking over here on the hash ribbons indicator, and it did signal a capitulation signal. So again, the hash ribbons indicator is a miner related indicator, like Bitcoin miner related indicator, and we have seen this one actually work out to pretty devastating effect in the past. But there's a lot of nuance to this that I think people who are making this into a bit of a meme right now are missing. And in this case, yeah, it did print capitulation, in the last month a couple times, and in that case, it does provide the impetus for certainly concern for a pullback. But when we go ahead and backtest all of the prior 17 iterations, we see a few things that I think are very enlightening here. And again, I just want to show all of them. And welcome to our new friend. I see we have a new joiner of this channel, but I can't actually see your name. So show yourself, sir. Again, this is live right now. Anyways, of the 17 signals, 9 of them I would have considered a failure, meaning that there was no sizable downside move after the capitulation signal was printed. And when I say sizable downside move, most of those never even went lower than the capitulation print. In fact, most of them just went sideways and up from there in a pretty crazy fashion. So this indicator, I still believe, is pretty damn powerful when printing the blue buy signals. But when looking at just the capitulation signals, there's a lot to be desired there. And when we do go into the data a little bit more, of those 9 failures, when we look at those failures, it's when the daily 21 and 55 exponential moving average crosses, the silver cross essentially, is to the upside, that they've all been failures actually in the past. I'll give you an example. If we can find one hopefully easily. Yeah, here we go. Here's actually a couple right here. We see the silver cross to the upside, again, 21 above the 55, and the capitulation signal comes in here, and it's just upwards and onwards from there. In fact, once price action gets the blue buy signal, I mean, it's at like $20,000 basically, and the initial capitulation signal happened at 13,300. I mean, there wasn't even really any real downside move after that, which is kind of crazy. There was even one slightly before that as well, actually. In fact, capitulation signal over here, price action comes back down around it, doesn't even trade below, actually, certainly doesn't close below, and sideways and up is the name of the game. So whenever we've seen a silver cross and the capitulation signal present, at best, Bitcoin's kind of maybe made like a slightly lower low, like less than 5% typically. But that was inevitably an opportunity. So again, the question that I come back to, or sort of the major piece of analysis that I want to be coming back to here is, how far does Bitcoin come down? Has it already come down enough? I mean, this technically did happen over here. So we've already seen a 3.25% move to the downside. If Bitcoin were to come down to, let's say, 28,500 or 28,000 bucks, that'd put Bitcoin somewhere around, or that would be like a 666. Holy shit, it's the devil's pullback. Something like that. But basically, what I'm led to believe by the history of this, and by the data, is that, pullbacks, whether it be here or a little bit lower, are likely opportunities for major higher lows in a general uptrending market here. Again, I would be judging a break of the current range lows at about 29,500 or so on a 4-hour closing basis, as beginning continuation to that lower level. But until then, perhaps this could be the low right here. I would say that would be that the case for that would be massively strengthened if we saw any sort of a move back above yesterday's high. Again, 30,515, was it 30,000? Yeah, 30,515 on CME right there. If that were to happen, that actually looks pretty damn good for the blue laws, and at least another retest, somewhere around 31.4, 31.5 region, perhaps in the following days, as we'd be looking for that slow grind up. So fair enough on that. We can go ahead and check out stochastic momentum. We do have CME closing again for the weekly today. I'm curious what the weekly is currently at. It is still actually positioned to the upside, and will be remaining with upside momentum, assuming that Bitcoin closes basically anywhere above 28,850. Of course, Bitcoin's about $1,000 above that current level right now. But that would also imply, to be fair, coming into next week, we would actually be expecting, if things are indeed bullish, that things would continue up from there, because that number, this pivot will move up significantly, I suspect, as we already, we're already seeing momentum kind of at a critical region here. And so at that point, it's like, hey, now is the time. Otherwise, it will inevitably be turning down. And, well, turning down, not a death sentence, but likely a sentence for a much greater pullback. Moving into the daily, we do see that the daily is almost nearly fully reset, but will turn back up above 30,750. I'm actually curious what spot price action is printing right now. Actually, it's a little bit higher. It's a little bit higher than what we do see on CME at just below $30,000. I do still want to call out that there is this nice trendline regression right here, which the daily stochastic oscillator is pretty much in alignment as of right now. Coming off these lows. Anyways, I'll take that off and we'll go down to the 12-hour time frame. 12-hour time frame is going to be positioned for potential upside momentum, assuming that Bitcoin can be above 29,820. Currently trading about $50 above that pivot, so not really super helpful. Yes, it's in the critical zone. Yes, it's going to be difficult to kind of keep it down here, but a lot of the time I do see some like this, and then the real move up, and that creates some sort of divergence, and that can be a very powerful signal, and that would imply one more move to the downside first. So again, kind of keeping a hot eye on that. 6-hour time frame also be showing upside above 29,777. 4-hour time frame going to be showing downside below 30,400, and hourly is going to be showing upside above 29,720. I'm really not getting too much from this. I think short term probably tries for that bounce in alignment with the 4-hour regular bullish divergence coming off these last few lows here. I'm curious if that's also present on the 6-hour too. Yeah, it is a little bit. It's not a super strong drive, to be fair. So, in these cases, I'm really not. I'm really not convinced of anything either way until again we see above yesterday's high on a tick basis, or a closure below 29.5. 29.5 would be the big one for me, and then probably another $1,000 to $1,500 slide to the downside if that were to happen. But that's going to do it for today's video. We're going to continue on with the live stream. So with that said, I want to wish you the best of best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.